All right, people of the state of Michigan versus Reagan Passamani 226946 SM. Ms. Passamani appears this morning before the court. Her counsel is Caleb Parsi, who is present in the court. The prosecution appears through Assistant Prosecutor Alex Saminsky. We're set for a sentencing hearing this morning concerning Ms. Passamani. For the record, I have received Ms. Danielson. I see you're in court as well. Good morning. Ms. Danielson being the mother of the victim here, Trenton McWilliams, along with the victim witness coordinator from the prosecutor's office. I have received your letter dated October the 10th, along with photographs. There has been some other various documentation I've received over the course of time between all of these files from Ms. Danielson on behalf of her son, Mr. McWilliams. For the record, Mr. Tarsi and Ms. Passamani, I have received and reviewed as well the letters of recommendation and support for character references from Mr. Baruti from the West Iron County High School, Ms. Burke, the UP Championship Rodeo co-chair, as well Ms. Susan Fritz from Dinamia Kitchens. In respect to the matter, were there any other letters of recommendation that I'm missing?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then. All right, so as far as the order of events here, Ms. Passamani, you have the absolute right to be the last one to speak before the court imposes sentence. That's a right of allocution is another name for it. So the order of events will be that your counsel will go first, and then I'll give Mr. Saminsky an opportunity. I'm understanding that Ms. Danielson, you'd like to make some comments this morning as well. Ms. Danielson, and have an opportunity, and then you will go last because you have an opportunity to address everything that has transpired before you. I'd ask everyone to please keep their voices up. We will be putting these are not microphones, they are simply recording devices. We are recording here this morning, so Ms. Danielson, for example, before we get to you, we're going to move it closer to you so that we can pick up here. So we'll take a little pause in between. All right, then, concerning the matter, I do have a pre-sentence report that's been compiled by the probation department. Mr. Tarsi, have you had a chance to go over that with Ms. Passamani?
I have, Your Honor.
Is there anything stated there of a factual nature that appears inaccurate to you?
No, Your Honor.
Is there anything you'd like to say on behalf of Ms. Passamani before the court imposes sentence?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. I'd just like to inform the court that, Ms. Passamani is an 18-year-old who's just starting her adult life. She was a top student all through her high school career, graduating 12th in her class with a 3.2 GPA, never having one disciplinary issue all throughout her time in high school. Since the incident, she has started employment with Dinamia Kitchens in Iron River and has been a responsible, well-mannered employee. And she has spent most of her time since the incident at home with her mother, keeping busy, doing puzzles, working, attending college. Regan is enrolled in Bay College in the medical assistant program with dreams of becoming an RN. And of course, we are concerned what the charges may do to that dream. Regan's mother is the Iron River City Clerk, who's very active in the community, and they both volunteer for the UP Rodeo, the UP Championship Rodeo in Iron River, and have done so every year since 2009. Regan takes this incident and what happened very seriously. She is remorseful and apologetic that she succumbed to peer pressure. She was not aware of what to happen to the victim and did not know the co-defendants were intending to do what they did. Following the assault, Regan and this woman did attempt to operate to the victim and try to bring him to the hospital. Regan has cooperated with the prosecution in their investigation and has submitted to re-interviews with the NSP to aid in their investigation. I'm asking you to take all that into consideration in your sentence and further ask that you follow the recommendations of the probation department. Ms. Passamani has served 15 days, which was part of the recommendation. And I ask that you follow the recommendation for delayed and the 50 days held in advance, subject to the 15 days already served. Additionally, I would like to inform the court that Ms. Passamani is prepared to pay all the fines as set forth in the recommendations today.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. In respect to the matter, then, Mr. Tarsi, I have been provided this morning from the prosecutor's office a request for restitution. Have you seen that?
I have, Your Honor. And I would request that restitution be held open pending the resolution of the other co-defendants' cases. I believe that's proper pending that it would be joint and several. And if Ms. Passamani was ordered to start taking cases today, she may very well end up paying the whole thing prior to any of the other co-defendants even facing adjudication. I would just request that it stay open pending final resolution of the other co-defendants' files.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tarsi. Mr. Sminsky, anything you'd like to say?
I would ask if the court can hear from Ms. Danielson first.
All right. Thank you. All right, Ms. Danielson, would you kindly state your name for the record, please?
Sandra Danielson.
Thank you.
Ms. Passamani, on April 1st, 2022, when you lured my son, Trenton McWilliams, to a secluded area at the end of a dead-end road, you did not know him. You did not know he was born addicted to heroin and other illicit drugs. You did not know how he suffered from withdrawals. You did not know for the first 6 months of his life he was in California in a foster home where he was not held or cared for. You did not know he suffered from severe attachment disorder or how difficult every single day of his young life was. You did not know Trenton's speech was hard to understand, making it difficult for him to make friends. While Trenton attended school, your friends and co-defendants made Trenton's life hell. They told him to kill himself. They called him special ed, retarded, stupid, repeatedly bullied him, threw things at him and pushed him around. Anywhere Trenton ran into them, it was the same. They told lies to his friends, and he lost friendships because of their lies. Friendships that were difficult for him to make. When Trenton began homeschool, the torment continued. Here we are today because your friends, with your help, tried to kill him. What were you thinking while you watched Trenton laying on the ground being stomped on, punched and kicked with steel-toed boots by your friends? What were you thinking as you drove away, leaving him beat up and bleeding from his head, face, nose, mouth, and eye? It was 29 degrees outside. He was wet from being tossed in a ditch full of snow. It was dark, and he had to make his way 2.9 miles for help. Did it occur to you that he could have died? You lied to the police and tried covering up your involvement in this heinous crime. You denied knowing your co-defendants. Now you have pled no contest to the charges placed on you. You still do not accept any responsibility for this assault on my son. The truth is, without you, this assault would not have happened. Your lack of empathy for another human is disgusting to me. I hope this court sees it necessary to punish you to the fullest extent allowed. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Danielson. Mr. Sminsky, anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to start off with acknowledging the fact that the defendant did submit herself to interviews. It was part of her agreement agreement with our office that she provide truthful interviews and cooperate against any of the other co-defendants should they go to trial. Ultimately, I have a difficult time ascertaining the value of that cooperation at this time. The other co-defendants obviously are still pending trial. And I have to agree with Ms. Danielson. The defendant set up Trenton, put him in a position where he was vulnerable to the desires of the other co-defendants. Ultimately, without her involvement and without her and the other people involved in luring him to the secluded area, this would likely have never occurred. And as the court is well aware, under the law, she's just as responsible for this charge as the people who actually assaulted Mr. McWilliams. I know Ms. Danielson's letter and photographs likely do it more justice, but the victim, Mr. McWilliams, was severely injured in this case. He sustained multiple lacerations to his face that required stitches. He received 2 broken teeth that required extensive dental work to even come close to repairing with veneers. And as Ms. Danielson has already stated on the record, he already had mental health issues, and this has done nothing but set him further back in dealing with those. And I'm sure the court is also aware that the emotions in this case on both sides have run high. There's been interplay, or at least an allusion to it, that somehow one of the other co-defendants justified this assault on Mr. McWilliams based on some past grudge. I don't see any of that as a proper justification for what occurred here. The injuries were severe. Likely Trenton will be dealing with the fallout of this to his mental health for years to come. And ultimately, the question here is, what is an appropriate sentence? Certainly, punishment is appropriate in this case. Certainly, I think deterrence of others and sending a message to the other co-defendants as well. Ultimately, rehabilitation is always on the table. I think that's the goal of any probationary sentence. To that end, I would ask that there be no early release allowed by this court for the probation that's being recommended. I think given the severity and given the amount of restitution and everything else, I would ask the court not authorize any early release and institute the full 12-month term that's being asked for by the probation department. I think it's only fair that the defendant be subjected to that length of oversight and no less than that. And ultimately, the fourth prong of any sentence is to attempt to make the victim whole. The restitution requested is but a small part of that. Likely this court, no matter what order it could craft, will ever be able to repair all of the damage that was done to Mr. McWilliams that night. Certainly compensating Ms. Danielson and her son for the medical expenses is a small fraction of that. I would ask the court to enter that restitution amount. I certainly understand Mr. Tarsi's point as far as the restitution. There's multiple other co-defendants. So to the extent that the court is going to entertain any sort of delay in the restitution order, I'd ask at the very least she be required to immediately pay her percentage of the joint and several and leave the rest to open. I think it's not fair to Trenton or to his family to delay restitution simply because the others are remaining held out. I think that's a fair compromise that she be required to at least pay her percentage up front. And if others don't pay, she's certainly joint and severally liable, and that can be ordered down the road. I think that's the bare minimum that can be asked. As far far as the rest of the questions that's before this court, as far as penalty, I would ask the court to take all the information provided, giving particular weight to what Ms. Danielson has said and the letters that she's provided. And I think certainly the most impactful is included with her letter were several pictures and photographs of the injuries sustained. I would ask the court to consider all of that in crashing its sentence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Szymanski. Ms. Passamani, anything you'd like to say?
Yes, Your Honor. I want to start off by saying I'm sorry. My stupid actions have caused a lot of people pain. I realize what I did was extremely wrong, and I never want to be responsible for something like this again. I am very remorseful, and I regret my involvement in this incident. Not only have I caused Mr. McWilliams and his family a lot of pain, I hurt my own family too. I do not want to give someone or my family the kind of pain they experienced the last 7 months. I realize that I don't want to be the selfish, non-caring person I was going into jail, but the caring person I was coming out. I do not want this to reflect me as a person, and to do that I need to change. While in jail, I realized just how much I've been taking for granted. My family stuck beside me, which I'm very grateful for. I've embarrassed my family and myself, which I didn't deserve. So I vowed to never do something like this again, and I'm very sorry for any of the pain I've caused. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Passamani. Well, this is obviously a very difficult and emotional situation that came to be that could have easily have been avoided had you put your thinking cap on before you acted. I know that youth tends to blur the lines of what's right and what's wrong sometimes, but you acted in a very adult-like manner, and now you're going to have to pick up the pieces in a very adult-like manner. And had you not put all this in motion, Ms. Passamani, I realize it wasn't you using the steel-toed boots that evening, but honestly, had you not put all this in motion, chances are that never would have taken place. So, as Mr. Szymanski has stated, you are as equally liable and equally responsible as every single person that was there that evening. You have accepted responsibility. You've led the pack in that much. To that is your credit. You stepped up to the plate and accepted the consequences of some very poor decision making. That poor decision making is going to follow you around for a long time, if not the rest of your life. And what you have to realize is that as this fades in the rearview mirror of life and you move on and at some point have a family and et cetera, you're going to understand more and more how Miss Danielson feels, how helpless you feel when your child is injured, when your child is put in, a vulnerable child to start with, who had one leg down, it sounds like, from out of the gate here, and he's been struggling to overcome those issues that he was not a choice, that he did not choose, nor did he have any responsibility for. And so in this matter, the law has set up what the objectives of sentencing are, and they set them up in descending order of importance. And the first objective of sentencing is to punish the individual who has done wrong. That's first and foremost. The second goal of sentencing is to protect society. Protect society from people like you and the actions that you took that evening. The third goal is to deter or to make it so that other people don't want to act this way because the consequences are so objectionable that other people will see what happened to you and say, gee, I never want to do what she did because that's what's going to happen to me. And lastly, the goal is to try to rehabilitate the individual that has done wrong in that order of events. In respect to the matter, as I looked through the photographs and I looked through the other issues, he was very, very injured. His teeth are going to be a lifelong battle for him. amongst other things, not to mention the mental anguish, the distrust that he's going to have in other people, the distrust he's going to have in women. You called him up, you lured him out, you gave him a guise that, gee, we think you're cute. Hey, come on, you know. I mean, how would you like it if you flipped the situation around and some guy said to you, gee, Miss Passamani, we think you're really cute. Why don't you come out for a ride? And then you get lured into having the crap beat out of you. You know, I mean, trust issues. These are lifelong issues that he is going to have to deal with, thanks to you and your friends. And for that, I really hope you suffer for a long time and carry that with you. You need to carry this burden for the rest of your life, frankly, and make sure that you do everything you can to not only correct your behavior, but to look around you and to try to help people that are 1 foot down in the world, people that have issues that they're struggling with, and pay it forward. Do good. You can do good. You're young. You've got your whole life ahead of you. You've done well by stepping up and taking responsibility and moving this forward, agreeing to testify against those people that are involved that have not yet met their day of reckoning. That is a good move. That is a good step in the right direction. But don't forget where you are, how you got here, and how you're going to have to dig yourself out from this day forward. Because these kind of things are going to be in the back of your mind, unfortunately, forever at this point, and you've got a long life ahead of you. But frankly, in my mind, they should be, because for being so young, you took a really bad turn here and made some really poor judgments. It sounds like you've come from a good family with a lot of support. Why you thought this was appropriate? What did you think they were going to do when you lured them out? I heard your lawyer say that you didn't think they were going to do anything like this. What did you think was going to happen?
I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was going to be. I thought they were just going to try to scare him, maybe push him around a little bit. I did not know they would push him to the ground, kick him in the face, and all beat on him at once. I did not expect that.
Did you question them before you took your actions? Like, hey, what do you have in mind?
No, Your Honor.
And why not?
I just wasn't thinking.
So there you go. See what I mean? Adults think these things through. You got to look at it from every which way and be more responsible than that. You knew no good was going to come out of it. You knew that. So how did you like your 15 days in jail?
It was all right. I had a lot of time to think, and like I said, I was able to realize how badly I've taken many things for granted, like my parents. My parents have been there for me through this whole thing, and I'm really appreciative of that, but you know, I don't want to put my parents through this or anybody else in my family through something like this again.
And you keep talking about your family. Yes, you embarrassed your family, but your focus should be on what you did over here. You've embarrassed your family, okay, oh well. But I don't hear you saying, I am sorry, I did wrong. You haven't looked at the lady once this morning. What do you want to say to her?
I do want to say I'm sorry, Ms. Danielson. When this all started, I did not know those things about your son. I was never informed of that. I was only informed of the wrong that he has done to my co-defendants, and you know, it just never occurred to me what they could have done to him. And like I said, I never knew the things that they have done or said to him, and I want to say I'm sorry for that too. I should have asked them. I should have, you know, realized that maybe they could have done something to him before leading up to this, and you know, it was both sides, and I just want to say I'm sorry.
That was good, because you should be. So, Ms. Passamani, in respect to the 15 days in jail, it was okay? I mean, is that a place you want to go back to?
No, Your Honor.
I mean, how did you find the people around you? People you want to chum with?
No, people were in there for, you know, they have longer sentences than me, and, you know, I do not want to have to go through those long sentences. You know, I was very lucky, and I am very lucky to have only gotten the 15 days, and, I stuck it out and I got through it okay. I kind of just kept my head down and I stayed to myself and, I just wanted to get through it.
So I've heard your lawyer say you want to be a registered nurse.
Yes.
And you're at Bay right now?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
So you understand that if you have a conviction of this sort or a conviction of pretty much any sort, getting through the certification boards to become a registered nurse is virtually impossible. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
So do you understand how quickly one decision can blow out the rest of your life's plans?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And you're working now at Dina Mia's?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
And you saved all the money to pay the fines and costs of $1,165 at
Yes,
this
I have.
point. In respect to this matter, then, concerning the sentence of the court, I thought long and hard about this. It's an aggravated assault. The injuries were extensive. The repercussions are going to be extensive. There may well be more injury in the future. I don't know if Mr. McWilliams is going to be interested in any kind of counseling or just what the extent of the dental work or potential plastic surgeon might be. But at this point in time, there is a request for $3,113 in restitution, and I will not be waiting. She's made her bed. She can go after her co-defendants and take on that aggravation herself. This lady and her family are not waiting, period, end. I am, however, Ms. Passamani, going to give you an opportunity to earn a delay of sentence, and there will be no early discharge from probation. We're going to watch you closely for all of a year and see that you are following the law. We'll see how these other cases pan out. We'll see just how truthful you are going to be when you're called upon to testify, because that's the requirement. You have to give truthful testimony. And so all of that is going to be in the balance. However, I do believe that she should have an opportunity to earn a delay of sentence. She has no prior criminal history. And that's something that has to be earned. Like respect or anything else, it's not given, it's not granted, it's earned. And that's where you're at. So the ball is in your court. I am going to impose a 12-month period of probation. I think probation is appropriate for all of the reasons stated here. I will grant it under the general delay of sentence status. There will be no early release from probation. I didn't say so. There's a $400 oversight fee for probation. Fines and costs are $640. I'm going to set restitution presently at $3,113. That remains subject to review and subject to court hearing. Either side can petition the matter up. We'll have another hearing. If there are further restitution requests or there are issues with potential joint and severable restitution amongst the other co-defendants as each of those cases are resolved. But you are all going to be responsible, all for one and one for all. How joint and severable works, if your attorney hasn't explained it to you, let's assume of the 6, one person pays it, you are able to go after everybody else for their share. However, in a perfect world, if everybody splits it up equally, that's the way it works. But if it doesn't, only 2 out of the 6 are responsible, those 2 pay it all. If 1 out of the 6 are responsible, that one pays it all. But the victim is made whole, and how the defendant split it up is between you. But you are able to bring your co-defendants up and have a hearing on that, and your attorney can petition it up, and I'll make the decisions about who, how, what, and how much is going to be paid. But at this point in time, I am going to set a restitution amount of $3,113. The recommendation here says that you are earning $10 an hour and working approximately 17 hours per week. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what's your monthly expense of $100 for?
Like face wash, hygiene stuff, shampoo, stuff like that.
I'm going to set a restitution payment at this time at $300 per month, commencing December 1st and each first of the month thereafter. That's a part of your probation. Meaning if you don't pay the restitution or you don't pay it according to that schedule, you're subject to losing the delay of sentence as well. So if there's an issue, if you want to pay more, you can pay more. If you can't be making that payment, then you better be talking to your lawyer. Have a hearing. We'll discuss the issues before you fail on that. I'm going to impose $75 crime fund fee, a $50 justice system assessment fee. So independent of the restitution, the fines and costs are $1,165. I'm going to order that be paid in full today. I'm going to order then 50 days in jail. You have credit for 15 days that you've already sat. The balance of the 35 days will be as follows. 25 days will be held in abeyance pending your successful completion of probation. 10 days will be suspended if you complete 10 days of community service work as well as 10 days on the sheriff's work ban. Likewise, that is all subject to losing your delay of sentence. So if you sign up for sheriff's work ban and decide that day you really just don't feel like getting out of bed and doing it, boom, there goes your delay of sentence. Okay? In addition to the general terms of your probation, which will be listed at the top of your order of sentence, yours will be yellow in color. Make sure you read all of them. The following are specific to you. You must absolutely abstain from the possession or consumption of alcoholic liquor in any form whatsoever. You may not use, possess, or consume any non-prescribed controlled substances or prescription medicines that aren't prescribed to you. You must avoid all people that use, sell, and possess those items. Recreational marijuana use and possession are prohibited. You are subject to random breath tests and drug screens while you're on probation. You may not engage in any harassing, intimidating, assaultive, or threatening behavior towards any person. You may not have any contact with Trenton McWilliams. You are not to possess or use any social media, including but not limited to Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, all of those social media websites. You are not to be on the property of W5678 Sweet Settlement Road in Norway. Do you understand those conditions of your probation?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to read you an appellate court advisal. An appeal to circuit court may be taken within 21 days from the date of your sentence, whereas permitted pursuant to Michigan Court Rule 6.625B. If the sentence includes incarceration, and if you wish to file an appeal but are financially unable to hire a lawyer on appeal, the court would appoint a lawyer for you on appeal if that request is made within 14 days after your sentencing. Do you understand that advisal?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand the order of the court in full then?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Tarsi, anything?
One question, Your Honor. As part of the standard terms of the probation is it to not leave the state of Michigan?
Correct.
Can we amend it to allow her to travel to Wisconsin, and she has family that lives there and they typically travel there over the holidays?
That will go through the probation department on a case-by-case needed basis.
Understood, Your Honor.
All right, anything else?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, Mr. Saminsky, anything from you?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I hope the healing process can start for you and your son. I hope the healing process can start for you as you grapple with this and mature into a young woman I think you have the capability of being. I hope that you do reach out and become a registered nurse because, one, the world is in need of nurses. Two, I think this opportunity for you to rectify the wrong that has gone on here by serving other people and caring for people like Mr. McWilliams that would be in your care should you become a nurse is going to be healing and it's going to be a good career.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So I wish you well. I wish you well, Miss Danielson. I wish your son well. Please extend that for me. And that will be it for today then. Thank you all. We'll be off the record.